Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Red Dot podcast. And we are back after a long gap. Hi Namrata.
Hi Richa, how are you? It was a
I'm
really long gap, and
yeah,
yeah, you're good now. But
I'm good now. Yeah. So we had a long gap because I was not well and I felt it was like a viral that was attacking me again and again. I was having this
okay,
cycles of weakness. Okay, and it was like time bound. At certain
okay,
times in the afternoon I would
hmm.
get those weakness and then I would just not be able to function. I had a lot of brain fog, weakness, all of those things.
Oh my God,
Yeah, and I was trying to find out what's the reason. It was not viral. I even did an antibiotic course, although antibiotics don't work on viral, but I thought whatever helps me get back my energy and mojo. But
yeah,
anyway, now I'm back and we are back with the next episode of
yeah.
Red Dot podcast.
And it's great. I think you've had a very deep cleanse and understanding of your body, also like uh,
Yeah,
a much better
yes.
understanding level. Yeah,
Definitely, yeah, because I was exploring what could possibly be wrong. It was like a
hmm.
mystery to me. And I did a lot of blood test, also autoimmune blood test. Then there's a mold growth in my house. I was suspecting, is that the reason? So I was shifting places, living at my mom's place, in-laws place, different places for seven days and checking how is my health.
Wow. Oh my God. Okay,
Right.
That's a good approach, but it's great to have you back.
Yeah.
And
Good to be
let's
back.
dive, yeah, let's dive deep into Vijnanamaya Kosh.
Yeah, yeah. So today's topic is Vijnanamaya Kosha and specifically how it affects our menstrual cycle and our functioning as women throughout the month. And in case you have joined in new today, do check out our previous podcast, previous 4 episodes, which have been on the Manomaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Annamaya Kosha. These are the 5 sheets of body or layers of body that we say in yoga. So today we are diving deeper towards the core, and that is the Vijnanamaya Kosha, or which is also known as your logic body or the intellect body.
Yeah.
So let's get started with that. And I would like to start by asking you, Namrita, what is your understanding of Vijnanamaya Kosha?
Yes. So as soon as you hear the term Vijnana, uh, you start thinking about science at some level.
Yeah,
Um, but whatever I've learned from my teacher, he explains Vijnanamaya Kosha as the logic body or
right,
the intellect body,
right,
and that is drawn from the memory.
right,
So Manomaya Kosh and Vijnanamaya Kosh. Manomaya Kosh is the previous episode that we did,
right,
and there we talked about how Manomaya Kosh is the emotional body,
correct,
but it's also a memory body, and memory holds certain emotions. So what
right,
Vijnanamaya Kosh does is execute those emotions. So
right,
the logic that you have with respect to any memory in Manomaya Kosh or any emotion, the logic that you've built, it executes it in Vijnanamaya Kosh, and then you get feelings regarding it.
okay, right,
So if you have any memory, you have
hmm,
the
hmm,
logic will execute, and then
hmm,
it will give you the feeling in the body.
hmm,
So it will manifest in the body.
right,
So this is my understanding of Vijnanamaya Kosh, and
right,
more or less, if you're a person who is having fear or anxiety, uh, then it means with a certain situation, with a certain memory of it,
right,
you have a logic stored
hmm,
that that can be from your previous experience of that particular situation.
right,
For example, public speaking.
yeah,
So if you were asked to speak in front of 10 people, and again in you grow up as an adult and you're asked to give a presentation about some topic in your
yeah,
company. So you get that memory. Whereas a kid, you were scared to speak in front of people, and
yeah,
it can cause some level of anxiety. Most people are able to overcome that part and just get it done with, but for some, it's more difficult. So if that
Right.
logic is very hardcore
Hmm.
built into your system, then it's
Hmm.
difficult to overcome it. So
Right.
it's not easily replaced by a different logic.
Right.
So,
Right.
and that creates a fear response, which is
Correct.
executing that memory, right?
Right. Right.
So that
Yeah.
creates a feeling of having a panic attack or having butterflies in your stomach or something like that.
Right. Right.
So that's my understanding of Vijnana Kosha. You tell
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
is there something different also that we can add
Yeah.
here?
Right. Right. So yeah, it my understanding is also similar. Like you're drawing in from a memory, which could even be subconscious. Sometimes you don't know where is this fear coming from, where are these emotions coming from, but there's something that's driving it, so your mind draws upon it, and these can be formed while you're pretty young, right? Like when you're 3 or 4 years old, maybe you started out speaking just in front of your family, and you didn't get a encouraging enough response from your family, and that's when your fear of public speaking began.
Yeah,
It's formed really young. And in addition to this, I also feel like Vijnanamaya Kosha is also where it's a repository of knowledge,
mm,
and not only from this life, but maybe from past lives as well. Yeah, and where you also draw your intuition from,
yeah,
because intuition is nothing but the knowledge that we cannot consciously process.
yeah.
We cannot consciously comprehend how we could get uh, on a decision regarding this matter or this person, but somewhere
Correct.
we have all that knowledge stored in us,
Yeah. It can
which
also come from a lot of genetic memory that has been
yeah,
passed on from our generation. I was
right.
seeing that this reel was doing rounds on social media where they were talking about how you were formed, whatever your mom's age is during that time. When your mom was in her mom's womb, that's
Hmm.
when you were formed as an egg that was already there in
Oh,
your mom's
wow.
womb. So yeah, this reel was doing rounds on social media, and I was like, okay, well, interesting.
Yeah,
And of course, now science is coming up with more and more explanation of how certain genetics or certain emotional states that maybe my grandmom was in could have impacted
yeah.
the way I react to things now.
Hmm.
Uh, but of course, again, coming back to Vijnanamaya Kosha, it is not something that is set in stone,
Hmm.
and it can be changed. Scientists
Yeah,
have time and again proved that our brain is plastic in nature, it
yeah.
is malleable in nature, and it can be changed. Certain logics can be changed. It is forever growing. It's
Right.
not, and that's why you don't stop learning at any age.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
can pick up new skills whenever you want. So you can pick up skills to change uh, the bad logics that you have. Saying bad in the
Right.
sense that does not serve you anymore, or that is
Right.
causing you fear or causing you to be in a lower state.
Yeah, and which are not serving you.
Yeah. And that's when I think when you talk about intuitiveness, again, intuitiveness is not something like magic is happening or
Hmm. Hmm.
it's coming out of thin air and out of nowhere. Intuitiveness is more about uh, coming to a conclusion about uh, uh, certain situation or a person or a decision that you're going to make or something that might it's like a predictive nature that
Right.
has come as a part of human evolution, and we draw
Absolutely.
in from all these information, and people are talking so much about artificial intelligence and all of this,
Right.
but again, the amount of data that you feed to an AI, that decides how good the AI is, right?
Correct. Correct.
And
Yeah.
again, the amount of intuitiveness that you can have, where you can predict certain things about a certain situation or decision, whether this investment is good or not, whether or
Yeah.
not to invest in a particular stock, that comes from the amount of information that you will have
Right.
and previous experiences. And there are so many other factors that play a role. So, exactly, Vegan Mein Kosha is also about
True.
how good or how open your senses are and
Yeah.
how in that sense how intuitive you are.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Like even if for those of you who don't believe in past birth, and I think a lot of us, a lot of the
Yeah,
people now don't because we have been schooled in Western education. But yeah, this is such a good point, man. That you are still imagine the all the years you have evolved from a bacteria,
yeah,
and it's been billions and billions of years of evolution. So all that intelligence is there within us, and if we just open ourselves to it, then a lot of more knowledge will come into you and will affect your decision making.
exactly.
And yeah, you want to add something?
No, so I think the bottom line is with when we are discussing all of this is how it's affecting you as a
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
and how these good logics or bad logics can make or break you
Mm.
or can make or break a disease. So I think
Right.
when it
Yeah.
with regards to periods, what our topic is.
Yes.
What is our topic? Uh,
Rewire
Flow,
your rewire.
rewire. Right. I made the first one. I forgot. Okay. So yeah, rewire your flow. So it can be rewired at any point in time if you decide to do it. And there are so many tools available to rewire your brain these days. You know, I think NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and yoga, or just by journaling, there are so many people that are changing these logics that are embedded deep into the system just by journaling also. So uh,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And yeah, speaking of plasticity of brain,
yeah,
what many of us don't know is that your brain changes not only throughout the life, but for a woman, your brain changes on a month to month basis. Your brain changes when your hormones are fluctuating. So, what research has found out is that your brain can change up to 25% based on the phase of the menstrual cycle that you are in. That's huge. I don't know if that is a play of statistics, but definitely what I've read in that is that certain parts of your brain shrink and grow depending on the progesterone levels in your body. So especially the brain part of hippocampus, which is associated with memory, which is associated with again making the logic, drawing up on experiences, all of this. It changes significantly, it shrinks or grows throughout your menstrual cycle.
yeah,
And so your brain functioning changes. And I want to ask you, have you felt this the change in your maybe ability to draw upon memories, feel, or brain functioning throughout the menstrual cycle?
yeah. I think as a part of PMS, a lot of women might have felt that intense emotions, right
Yeah.
before your periods. And for me, I think that's how also we first met, Richa, because this is what I wanted to discuss about. And I
Yeah.
was having intense brain fog during that time.
Mm.
And I was working on a very brain intensive task back then.
Mm.
uh, I was coding something, and it was something that I had not done before. So I had to learn a new
Mm.
language altogether, and I was finding it extremely difficult to
Right.
focus and to just make sense of it altogether. And I was feeling so brain fogged, and that is also the time where I was having irregular periods. So probably hormones were pretty
Mm.
messed up back then.
Mm. Right.
So, and that's why I messaged you also, Richard. Do you know something like that? This can happen. Is it happening because of my periods? And
Right.
then we met, and this is how it started all.
Absolutely.
But yes, since then I've been doing a little bit of reading about it, and I did find that what we just cited, that
Mm.
the brain volume changes
Right.
significantly, like your hippocampus and your prefrontal cortex, they keep growing and shrinking also during
Right.
periods. And for
Right.
me, uh, right before my periods, if you give me something very complicated,
Mm.
something that requires a lot of computing, inside
Right.
my head, or something very important to decide,
Yeah.
I will take more time than usual to do it, maybe double the
Right.
time.
Right.
And I find it easier to do creative things during that time, which does not require that much of decision making.
Right.
So, yes, I have experienced that, and now it's not that magnified as it used to be before. Now that I'm having regular periods and things are back to balance, I don't feel that intensely anymore as a PMS, but it is still active on a certain level. Uh, where if you give me, uh, if you want to play chess with me, then I will probably lose.
Do you like playing chess? Do you play chess?
No, I've recently started because I wanted to pick up a new activity where I can use my brain a little more.
Yeah. Right. That activity for me has been my piano lessons.
Okay, nice.
I don't particularly enjoy playing chess, or maybe I've not gone deep into it. So yeah, but yeah, right now I'm taking keyboard lessons. I'm learning Spanish. I'm on a almost 300-day streak on Duolingo, Spanish streak
Oh,
right now.
great. I'm also learning as a part of coming here in Finland and settling. So I'm also learning Finnish now. So it's
Oh wow.
completely, they have different syllables, different vocab, everything. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, these are the things that keep your brain young, they sharpen your brain.
yeah, exactly. Wow,
So
okay.
yeah, I also wanted to share this image of the brain.
Hmm,
Uh, where it can differentiate where the different koshas operate from. So it's
hmm,
not necessarily that your koshas are located in these areas, but we talk about the manomaya kosha, the pranamaya kosha, or now the vijnanamaya kosha. So these are having different centers in brain which correspond to these particular koshas, right?
yeah, yeah.
Is the image visible?
Yes, it is visible. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, right. Yeah,
So
so this is
I
the
think
three
this is
keys.
a very interesting article for anybody who wants to understand how
Yeah.
these
We'll
different.
link it in the description below.
Yes, we will. So I think we should talk about. We should start with an example of how somebody has been in chronic stress or
Yeah.
depressed or has had anxiety episodes more often. So how which part of the brain is responsible for it? So it's your lizard brain
Yeah.
that's responsible for autopilot, fight or flight.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
yeah, I just wanted to add that this is the first one that was there in evolutionary terms. This is the first part of the brain that was built. And this one is just like basic decision of should I eat, mate, or kill what is in front of me.
yes, your survival instincts come
Survival.
from here.
Right.
So whether or not you have to uh, react to something, whether you have to fight or flight. So basically, if you keep yourself in survival mode,
Mm.
if you're undergoing a lot of stress on a daily basis,
Mm.
and that triggers your survival brain,
Right.
and that's what starts creating disease in your body because your body is constantly fighting something,
Right.
even though not in reality, but mentally you're always fighting a thought. For
Right.
example, if you're experiencing stress or bad emotions, negative emotions, if you're depressed, chronic stress, so it's all corresponding to this part of the brain.
Right. Right.
And we all know how stress can affect your physical and emotional well-being,
Yeah.
and it can completely mess up your hormonal
Mm.
balance also. So this part of the brain is responsible for that, and then we come to the limbic system, which
Mm.
is your mammal brain, that's emotions, memories. So this is your manomaya kosh,
Right.
and I think this corresponds to the hypothalamus area, which secrete the right type of
Yeah.
hormones also. Yeah.
Right. Correct.
and they give you the emotions or the memories and the habits. And then we
Right.
come to today's topic, that is the human brain or the Vijnanamaya Kosh. So all your decision making comes from information, and it's all stored over here. So thought,
Right.
imagination. I read this quote and I've been repeating to myself whenever I get a thought that is stressful. We suffer more in our imagination than we do in reality.
So true. Yeah. So
So
true.
the more you stay in an imaginative state, and you keep imagining that these things. So
Right.
if you're diagnosed with PCOS, for example,
Right.
and,
Right.
and you keep imagining that I'm never going to get better, and how this PCOS will get worse. What if
Yes.
something happens? This what if is actually the root cause of so many illnesses.
Yeah. True.
That causes so much more anxiety. And if you are in this what if state of imagination, you will always keep on triggering your lizard brain fight or
Mm.
flight mode, and you will not be able to heal.
Correct.
So
Correct.
yeah, so these are the three parts of the brain. And it's a great chart because it highlights which part of the brain. And now you can completely differentiate also that why you are having certain thought or emotion. So if
Mm.
you're and you can understand if it's triggering an
Mm.
anxious response. Now we spoke about the Ganymed coach. So Richa,
Right.
coming to PCOS,
Yeah.
how do you think a person who has been diagnosed with PCOS or
Hmm.
endometriosis,
Hmm.
somebody who has not had period for more than a year,
Yeah.
what kind of brain chemistry does it, or what
Yeah.
kind of interaction between these systems uh,
Yeah.
come into play?
Right. So, firstly, I think when you get diagnosed with something like PCOS, like it is a label that gets attached to it. Okay, and it definitely changes your Vijnanamaya kosha, because now you have a whole logic of how I'm not having periods, and you collect more information on that. So you're feeding that third part of the brain that we saw, the thinking, logical, language part of it, and you have a formed idea of what PCOS is, and you put yourself into that bucket rather than maybe looking at it as a temporary hormonal imbalance which is changeable, because a lot of time doctors and Google will tell you that this condition is irreversible and there's no way to cure it naturally. You have to take pills for the rest of your life to get your periods. So yeah, if you set into that, then your system will like shut down and freeze in that frame itself. But it's all about changing your frames. If you look for information that would serve you better, information of or stories of women who have reversed it, or who are managing it, or who are getting the periods every month without any pills naturally. And there are so many women who are getting it, right? I see it in my community every day. So it is possible. And yeah, I think that language helps us to communicate and define things, but it is also a barrier when it comes to perceiving reality. Yeah, like if I'm looking at a tree, if I don't know the name of the tree, then I'm more curious about it. I feel I look at it better. Okay, there's a tree right now in on the right side of me. I don't know what is that tree, but on my left side is a neem tree, and I know acha neem tree hai. At one glance, I will just dismiss it that I already know things about it. Okay, but this goes at such a deeper level. Anything in your life that you label, you can dismiss it just with language, because you have built a whole structure of language around it and
Right,
experience around
right. And I think as humans, we constantly want to put something in a bucket, something in a category. We want to put
it.
label on things we
Right.
don't understand, because that helps us draw a better understanding of it. We can define things, so we want to always define things,
Yeah,
and it's good. But
it's
when it comes to handling your disorders and your diseases, your mindset is very important. And if your mindset is fixated on a negative term,
right.
that is, it cannot be healed, you
Yeah,
will you will dismiss yourself. It's like a life sentence now,
yeah, yeah.
and you feel like you have to suffer now.
Yeah.
and then you go into the victim mindset. So
Yeah.
that's what keeps
Right.
you in the loop.
Right. Right. So a change in frame of reference, your perspective is so important when dealing with disorders.
Right. So,
Yeah.
coming back to, we've also spoken about it before, that how if you want to heal anything in your body, you have to be in a state of homeostasis. And
Yeah.
the more you keep triggering or you keep getting triggered by things around,
Mm.
you are triggering your limbic system, which keeps you on a
Mm.
fight or flight mode, and
Right.
your sympathetic nervous system is activated, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
you need
sympathetic.
and
Okay,
yeah
right.
and for healing you need to activate your parasympathetic nervous system that
Mm.
brings you in a state of healing.
Yeah.
And I think this switch for me happened when I started telling myself that I can get better. So
Mm.
if I was getting a stressful thought, I was having this bad logic. So I replaced that logic with a better logic that I
Mm.
can heal. And then I
Mm.
used to calm down. It's okay. It's bad now, but it'll get better.
Yeah.
And then I'm not just saying this because then I'm just observing myself, doing this. And then I will stay in a state of this shifting logic. So that is also taxing for the brain to continuously keep pulling yourself out from the same situation again and again.
Right.
So if I don't take any action to do that, so when the logic is changing, your actions also have to change.
They have to
So if I take actions to do it, then I can see that there is progress. And
right.
then if I'm replacing logic, my brain is able to intellectually see that there is progress
Yeah,
and we
there's
are
evidence.
moving. Yes, there is evidence and we are moving from bad to better
Right.
state.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's why it's so important to start in the right mindset of let me check if it's possible. Let's see what happens. An open
Yes.
mind, not necessarily that those affirmations, which don't work, like I
Yeah.
am healthy, I will get my periods regularly.
Hmm.
Those affirmations will not work because your mind will instantly reject it. That
Yeah,
no, that's
correct.
not true. We don't have any evidence to believe that looking at the past.
Correct.
So they're starting with an open mind and showing up for workout, showing up for yourself. Just
Hmm.
let's do it for 1 month and see what happens. And
Yeah.
then you start seeing incremental changes, little changes. And
Yeah.
that feeds, it's like a feedback loop, that feeds
Correct.
your anime kosha, your intellect, that further feeds your emotion and drives your action.
Hmm. And then it also keeps you in a state of balance, if you
Yeah.
have that right logic. So for people who are having issues with periods, who have not got periods for a very long time, and they're still troubled, and I think they the best place to start is by shifting this mindset, shifting this label of that is difficult to get
Hmm.
periods.
Hmm.
I don't think I don't think so. If you get access to the right kind of coach, the right kind
Right.
of nutrition and workout,
Yeah.
it's difficult to get a period.
Yeah.
Uh, of course, if you need to look at the blood work also. So you need
Yeah.
to have a better understanding of your body.
Right.
So people who are avoiding the work somehow to get periods, to get
Right.
better, to get over PCOS, PCOD,
Right.
endometriosis, somewhere they they have this logic that it can't get better.
Yeah. True.
It will not get better, and it can also be fed from the system, from the environment, from the
Yeah.
advertisements you see, from so many
Yeah.
stories you hear from other people who might
Yeah.
not have been able to heal themselves because they didn't have the right resources.
True. True. Yeah.
So it's different from case to case, from person to
Right.
person, and if you decide today, maybe you'll see changes 1 month, 2 months, 3 months down the line, but you will.
You will. Yeah. No matter how small they are, the important thing is that you're moving in the right direction.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, Richa, how does one, um, who's anybody who's diagnosed with period issues, have you seen any such cases with your patients who did this mind? only alone with mindset shift, they
Hmm.
were able to get
Yeah.
periods, or
Yeah.
have
Hmm.
regular periods,
Hmm. Hmm.
or reduce their flow, which was people who are having heavy flow,
Yeah.
something like
Right.
that.
Yeah, definitely. So when I say just with mindset, it was not just with meditation. It was that,
Of course.
uh, you know, I start my program with something called the goddess meditation. Okay, the
Okay.
goddess avatar meditation, which is where I shift their identity. Okay, so I make them visualize, their goddess avatar who is healthy, who is having fertility, who's a
Mhm.
goddess of fertility. Yeah,
Okay.
and once you have that image of yourself, it really speaks to you at a subconscious level. Yeah, so that's where the mindset shift happens. A lot of people have not even envisioned themselves in a healthy body or having regular periods. Some of my students, when I tell them what do you see or what do you visualize, when I tell you to imagine your future self, they say I just see myself the same way I am, or I see myself, having another miscarriage, unfortunately. So so you are always building a future timeline, might as well build it in the right direction. So that's where visualizing that's where the mind shift happens. And after the mind shift, their behaviors start to change, their beliefs start to change. There are real changes in the Vijnanamaya Kosha. The kind of emotions they are going through changes. A lot of them say I now feel hopeful about coming out of PCOS. Yeah. So yeah, if anyone, those of you who are watching this, share your experience if you have been through that 3-day program of mine. So yeah, that logic changes their emotions that they're going through, and that changes how they show up for the workout, what they're choosing to eat on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of them are seeing getting back their regular periods. And now I've been doing it for like more than 1.5 years. There's so many stories of women who are getting pregnant naturally, those of for whom they were told that you need to go through IVF or IUI, that is your only option, but they're getting pregnant naturally.
Wow.
So that's massive. So it's not woo woo as in terms of कि ठीक है सिर्फ बैठ के सोचा और हो गया. बैठ
Exactly.
के सोचा, that is the starting point which drives your actions and beliefs.
I think that's an excellent, information that you shared with me as well, because even I didn't know that you do that visualization exercise,
Yeah,
because it's creating change at a cellular level.
yeah,
For people who are perceiving it without any filters, their own filters or their own chatter of the mind,
yeah,
uh, if they are actually receiving that information and they are able to visualize themselves
right,
uh, in a fertile body or in a healthy body, it
correct.
starts creating changes at a cellular level. And I think I read a paper about it, or I heard it somewhere from a very distinguished professional, of how these vision board exercises and
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah,
timeline exercises can actually change and rewire your brain.
right.
So now it's not, again, it's not woo woo science. uh,
Yeah,
it it's actually allowing your body and your
hmm.
brain to behave in a different way, where
Yeah,
you start taking actions which are towards a better health
hmm.
and healing.
Right.
Wow, amazing, Richa. And I'm so glad. I keep reading your stories and your testimonies that you share from your patients, and it's so encouraging to see. So if someone who is following your page and they land on your page and they see these stories,
Right,
it's like a hope for them.
right.
And even if they don't sign up for it, but at least they are getting something, some value out of it, that they
Yeah,
can have that, they
yeah,
also
right.
can have something like that, which
Exactly.
is
Yeah,
which is so
yeah,
powerful.
yeah. And that's the message I want to spread. That your body has tremendous healing powers. Okay, even if the medical science doesn't believe in it, and you
Yeah.
don't believe in it, it does have, and everyone should explore that.
Yeah, and we are not completely dismissing, what Western medicine has to say about it, because most of the people go on evidence-based solutions. So it's okay if that's working for you.
Yeah,
It's absolutely fine. But
yeah,
wherever that stops and it also has some limitations, that's when your mindset shift will come into play and it will start
yeah,
helping you find alternative solutions.
yeah, right. Yeah, there are multiple solutions, and we should all be open to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Amazing. So, do we have anything else to share? Like how
So,
to develop our
yeah,
um, Vijnanamaya kosha to have uh, regular periods or to overcome
hmm,
PCOS
hmm,
or something like that.
yeah. I think what would help is that, I mean, it applies to all areas of your life, not just your health. Is like how to make the access your Vijnanamaya kosha or go to that level. And as I
Mm,
said, I think that body of your, that layer of your being also has a lot of intuitive knowledge.
mm,
So I always think that, as humans, we have developed this, third layer of the brain, and it is the layer which is associated with language,
yeah.
reasoning, logic, and which has helped us to, build this amazing world that, the modern world that we are living in. You and I can do a podcast right now. You're in Ireland, I'm in Pune. But sometimes I think the reason and language can also be a barrier when it comes to perceiving reality. Yeah. So getting in tune with your intuition and your senses, and not just relying on language or the knowledge that you get externally, but the knowledge that comes from within. That also will help you to, make your Vijnanamaya kosha stronger. So there is a meditation, which my teacher told me, it's not even a meditation. It's just being and observing things without the barrier of language or thought. Okay, I mean, it is simple, but it can be difficult for a lot of people. So what you do is just you sit and observe anything. It could be a tree, it could be a candle, and just take in all the data of visuals, uh, the smell and taste. Because believe it or not, you might not be smelling the plant that is in front of you consciously, but subconsciously you are smelling a lot of things. So, just opening up all of these senses, and also opening up your sixth sense of feeling, your environment and feeling what you're looking at, and not defining it into a plant or a leaf or a green color, blue color. Getting over those barriers and preconceived notions, and just sit back and relax and watch and observe things. That's the meditation. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I think when you take away labeling things and putting them in categories,
Correct.
uh, that's when you can fully understand and experience something, experience the
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah. Yeah. And access the amazing amount of knowledge that is there intuitively within you in your environment.
Yeah, great.
Right.
So I think if we would like to conclude, if there's nothing from the audience, did you check the comments?
Yeah. Let me check the chats. Please put in your questions if you have anything you want to share something. If you haven't checked out our previous episodes on Annamaya Kosha, where we talked about the nutrition fueling your flow, we talked about
Yeah,
the energy and your menstrual cycle, that was on Pranamaya Kosha, and then the emotions and your periods and your menstrual cycle, that was on Manomaya Kosha. And today we have dive deep into the Vijnanamaya Kosha, or your intellect or intuitive body. And also, we want to leave you with the next podcast announcement, which is going to be on next Sunday. And this will be the last podcast of this series, 5-part series that we had decided, which is going to be on Anandmaya Kosha, or your bliss body.
yeah. And I think I just want to add there, Richa, that we decided to look at periods and period related issues with the aspect of koshas because we have different levels of sheets or layers of body,
Hmm.
and each of these bodies, if if you're not getting solution from one aspect, from the nutritional aspect, then you can maybe get solution from the other, or the manomaya kosha or vijnanamaya kosha.
Right.
So maybe there's a limiting belief system that's causing your period issues. So that
Right.
is why we dived and we decided to correlate with each and every layer, so you can get a more holistic understanding of what's causing issues with your periods.
Right.
And
Right.
I think it was helpful. It was a very educative podcast experience for us also,
Yeah.
because we dive deep into each and every layer and
Yeah.
read so many research papers about it.
Right.
It's very
Right.
interesting.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
if the audience has any more topics that we've already addressed and they want to know more about something else, we would be happy to dive deep and address that in the next episode.
Right, right, absolutely. Yes, so even if you're watching the recording, leave the comments below, and in the next episode, we will answer your comments, or just if you want to share something, you want to know something about us, about Namrita and me, ask away, and we'll answer you in the next podcast.
Yeah.
All right, so
Okay
with that,
then.
we will end today's episode. Anything you want to add?
No, I think that's all.
Yes. All right, Namrata, I'll see you next week, and bye. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too. Bye.